Hey guys, today we'll be covering a 2011 drama film called Karate Girl. The movie starts with a 200-year-old story of a legendary karate master, Sojiro Kurenai, in Okinawa. Since Sojiro was the strongest of all and was able to kill with a single hit, he was feared all over. His black belt was considered a legendary token. Many years later, Tatsuya Kurenai, who is considered the descendant of Sojiro and a man with the strength and potential of Sojiro, inherits his black belt. However, Sojiro's black belt is in danger. Tatsuya's rival, Tagawa, a gangster, is after the black belt to make himself the sole authorized heir of the Karana Karate and use it in his favor to earn money. Tagawa wants to own the belt and take control of karate all over the world. To steal the belt, Tagawa and his men visit Tatsuya's house. Tatsuya is attacked by Tagawa's goons, but he fights back and manages to take them down. When Tagawa tries to steal the belt, Tatsuya defends it by striking his fist in Tagawa's torso. However, using a samurai sword, Tagawa's assistant, Fuyusuko, attacks Tatsuya from behind. In the meantime, Tagawa gets up, takes the belt, and kidnaps Natsuki, Tatsuya's younger daughter. However, the thugs leave behind Tatsuya's older daughter, Ayaka, who is unconscious on the floor, believing she has passed away. After Tagawa and his men leave, Tatsuya and Akaya lie injured and unconscious on the floor. A while later, Tatsuya wakes up, crawls towards Ayaka, and strikes her hard. Immediately, she comes back to consciousness. She is shocked to see her injured father, who is about to die, lying on the floor. Before he dies, Tatsuya asks Ayaka to leave Okinawa with the real belt of Sojiro and never return. He also tells Ayaka to be careful of the enemies and to protect their heirloom, Sojiro's real black belt. Seeing her father breathe his last breath, Ayaka cries out loud and holds his belt tight. Cut to 10 years later. Ayaka is now in high school and works at a cinema. One day during her duty, she finds two muggers snatching a woman's purse. When the woman cries for help, Ayaka instantly runs after them and uses her karate skills to bring them down. As Ayaka helps the woman to get her purse back, she gets the attention as well as an appraisal from the people watching her. She is considered a hero, and people start taking pictures of her. However, the attention of the crowd makes her uncomfortable and anxious. It turns out that she's been hiding her true identity after her father's death and living with Mixie, who works with her at the cinema, and her family. Miki arrives and disperses the crowd and sends them back to the movie hall. On being asked if she is okay, Ayaka tells Miki that she reacted instinctively without realizing the consequences when the woman cried for help. Later on their way home, Ayaka regrets getting involved in the fight and letting people know about her karate skills. Remembering the trouble Ayaka's father Tatsuya faced due to karate, Miki suggests she stop doing it and save herself from distress. Ayaka agrees that karate causes her trouble, but feels like she is honoring her late father whenever she fights. As the girls are talking, they are interrupted by a phone call. A karate school owner who saw Ayaka fighting in the cinema wants her to join his school. Initially, she rejects the invite, but when the owner pleads, she agrees to visit him. Since Ayaka is unsure about going to the karate school alone, she asks Miki to join her. Elsewhere, Tagawa, who stole the black belt from Tatsuya, is now crippled and wheelchair-bound. He has disguised himself as the successor of Sojiro and has been running a business of training people, then trafficking them in the international munitions market to make money. In the next scene, Tagawa walks into the training room along with his henchmen. Sho and Keith, two of their most talented trainees, are in high demand on the global munitions market, according to his assistant, Maria. When Tagawa learns of this, he instructs Maria to inform the clients that he will only send Sho to the Middle East if they are willing to pay him twice as much. However, Tagawa declines to send Keith, the school's instructor, saying that he wants to keep the best student for himself. While Keith continues to train the students, he teaches that karate is for killing enemies. As he continues to defeat everyone at the practice, a young student, Sakura, continues practicing alone in a corner. When Tagawa notices her, he gets irate and commands his subordinates to stop her from performing the outdated skills. Later, in order to increase their enterprise's market value, Maria suggests that Tagawa find the real belt of Sojiro, which might be out there somewhere, perhaps with one of Tatsuya's relatives. In the next scene, Tagawa calls Keith to a meeting room and asks him to put on a show for his American clients a few days later. Keith agrees and pays his respect to the fake black belt, which he believes belongs to Sojiro. After Keith leaves, one of Tagawa's staff whispers about the consequences when Keith finds out the truth. Due to this, Tagawa becomes enraged and eliminates the employee by striking him with a powerful chest punch. A flashback then reveals that Tatsuya had replaced the original belt with a fake one before Tagawa arrived with his men to steal it. As the discussion about the belt continues, Tagawa's assistant grabs his attention with the news of Ayaka that went viral due to the cinema incident. Although Ayaka Kurenai has changed her name to Ayaka Ikagami, Tagawa and his men suspect her to be Tatsuya's older daughter, who they believed died 10 years ago. Being a Kurenai who has witnessed her father's death and has a Sojiro belt, Tagawa considers Ayaka to be a threat to him and his business. Therefore, he asks his assistants to inspect her. A few days later, Ayaka goes to the karate school where the master asks her to give some tips to his students. While she demonstrates some of her skills to the boys, two of the youngest and well-trained thugs of Tagawa, Sakura and her friend, arrive at the school. Their main motive is to defeat Ayaka and reveal her true identity. In no time, they manage to put down every other student in the karate school. However, as they are about to attack the karate master, Ayaka faces them and fights them because of the Kurenai philosophy taught by her father, which states that karate is for protection. On the contrary, Tagawa's minions have learned karate as a skill for killing. Although the two thugs managed to beat all of the other students at school, they were easily defeated by Ayaka. Just then, Sakura calls Ayaka a Kurenai, and this surprises the latter, as she has kept her identity a secret for the last 10 years. After the fight, Tagawa becomes sure that Ayaka is Tatsuya's older daughter. Believing she owns the real belt and is a threat to him, Tagawa plans to kill her and steal the belt. He then wants to use the belt to promote himself as Sojiro's sole descendant. Later, while returning home, Ayaka shares the entire incident with Miki, who is equally stunned by it. Back at Tagawa's school during a practice session, Keith knocks down Sakura's friend. When he is about to fight Sakura, Tagawa stops him. He then orders Sakura to fight Ayaka and steal the belt. Hearing this, Sakura quietly asks her friend if Ayaka's statement is true, that karate should only be used for protection. However, her friend asks her to be quiet, claiming that they can get into trouble if someone hears them. The next morning, as Ayaka continues to practice, she remembers her father and his last words to protect the black belt. Suddenly, she notices Sakura in front of her and is surprised. Upon Tagawa's orders, Sakura is there to steal the Sojiro belt. She seems to be confused and questions Ayaka if karate is an art of killing or protecting. However, Ayaka, who is still taken aback by how Sakura knew her real identity, keeps on asking about it. When the girls fail to answer each other's questions, they engage in a fight. During the fight, they realize they are performing the same stances of Kurenai karate and remember their father teaching them to consider someone their friend if they practice the same moves. As a result, both of them stop fighting. Ayaka suspects Sakura to be her long-lost sister Natsuki, and she asks if she remembers anything. However, the latter is too stunned to speak, and she leaves, but not before warning Ayaka to be alert. Following this, both Ayaka and Sakura remember their childhood with their father teaching them Kurenai karate. Confused about her identity, Sakura goes back to Tagawa's school to find her answers. Since Sakura wasn't able to acquire the belt, she is forced to fight with Sho, one of the strongest karate fighters at her school. Just then, she remembers what her father taught her when she was a kid. Realizing that karate is for protecting oneself and not for killing, she fights the boy and defeats him. Surprised to see a little girl beating his stronger fighter, Tagawa asks if it is the Kurenai blood that makes her strong. The statement grasps Sakura's attention, and she demands to know her real identity. Tagawa finally discloses everything. He reveals that she is Natsuki, a Kurenai, and explains how he killed her father, stole the belt, and abducted and kept her for all these years. But since her father fooled him with a fake one, Tagawa now plans to kill Natsuki's sister Ayaka in order to get the belt. When Natsuki tries to oppose him, his assistant takes her down. He then makes a video of himself assaulting her and sends it to Ayaka, demanding she bring the belt in exchange for her sister's life. In the next scene, Ayaka receives the video and immediately heads to Tagawa's karate school to save her sister. There, she encounters Tagawa's assistant Fuyusuko, who murdered her father, and yells at him to let Natsuki go. However, he refuses and tells her that they have trained Natsuki for a decade to be perfect in karate. In no time, Ayaka is surrounded by all the thugs of Tagawa. Meanwhile, Natsuki is being dragged to the hall to see Ayaka die. When Natsuki sees a lot of fighters running towards the hall to fight Ayaka, she snaps and strikes down the two men holding her. On her way to the hall, Natsuki is confronted by her friend who works for Tagawa. At first, she asks him to step aside, but when the latter refuses, they start fighting. In no time, Natsuki defeats him, along with several other stronger and larger fighters who approach her on her way to the hall. Despite being small, she fights men double her size and brings them down. Following this, Ayaka rushes to the roof searching for Natsuki, where she instead encounters Keith. Meanwhile, Tagawa arrives and commands Keith to kill her. Being loyal to his master, Keith attacks Ayaka and beats her badly. Since Keith is gigantic and strong, Ayaka finds it difficult to fight him. As Keith is about to finish off Ayaka, Natsuki arrives and slams him. Seeing the two girls fighting together, Keith is completely startled. Ayaka then asks her sister if she recognizes her. Tagawa interrupts the sisters' reunion and demands Ayaka hand over the belt to him. Hearing this, Ayaka erupts on Tagawa, blaming him for killing her father, ruining her sister's life, and desecrating Kuranai karate. She then takes out the black belt from her bag and puts it down on the floor, making Tagawa frantic. He also tried to give him the belt, but Ayaka has sworn to take revenge and not let him touch the belt. Hearing the truth, Keith realizes that Tagawa has been lying and fooling everyone from the beginning. As Keith is about to attack Tagawa, he hears a swirling sound and turns to see the sisters performing the Kuranai stance that they learned from their father. Both of them fight Keith until he falls down unconscious. Alone and helpless, Tagawa approaches the girls and mocks them by saying that they can't kill a crippled man. However, Ayaka strikes him hard with her fist and knocks him down. After this, Ayaka picks up the belt and both the sisters leave. In the final scene of the movie, Ayaka and Natsuki return to Okinawa and put the belt back where it belongs. The movie ends as they practice karate at the seashore, continuing the Kuranai legacy that their father taught them long ago.